Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be doing another knife review. We'll be looking at this Camless knife. Very interesting knife, specifically with its unique opening mechanism. But I figured I'd start this review out a little bit differently, and we're going to be doing some cutting right off the bat. This is something I often do with knives that I do not have the physical time to test for a couple weeks. Every single knife I review, I have to use before I review it. I can't logically review a knife that I have no experience with. I can give you specifications, I can say the blade is this long, I can tell you what materials it's made of, but how am I supposed to know how it's going to actually function and give you a proper review without actually testing it? So oftentimes I will do exactly what you're about to see, is I will go out of my way and I will cut some cardboard, and I will cut paper, and I will cut a variety of different mediums such as paracord. I save old clothes. Since I lost a bunch of weight, I have a bunch of shirts and pants and different material, cargo material, cargo pants material, denim, all kinds of cotton t-shirts and stuff like that, as well as zip ties. If something's performing very well, I will go the extra mile of cutting zip ties and stuff like that. That's a much harder material to cut. Something like this, I don't even bother with zip ties. It's an AUS 8. It is on the softer side, so I honestly don't even go that route because I know for a fact it's going to dull them up and dull them up fast. So I get the same benefit from experience by going out of the way and cutting this stuff. What I will do is, if I don't have time to actually use a knife for a long duration of time, I still will carry it for at least a week. That's my minimum. I have to have it in the pocket for a week, and oftentimes, sometimes I don't show it in my EDC videos, but I will have 2 or 3 different knives carried at the same time. Throughout the day I will rotate them. I'll have 2 in my left pocket, clipped to the pocket, lefty style, and I mean, they're not orientated properly in the left hand side, but they're clipped there, and then throughout the day I will actually swap out purposefully and put this on my right side as if I was carrying it normally. And if I happen to be using the knife at the time, that's the knife I'll grab, whatever's on my right side. But yeah, this is something I do all the time. I just never film it. So I figured, why not? Change of pace, something a little bit different. I'm sure no one's going to complain about some usage footage, some actual cutting. I think that's something everyone's interested in. So that's what we're going to do today with this Camless. What makes this knife so unique is its opening mechanism. And basically what it has here is it has this G10 disc, okay, which is connected to the pivot, and it's a strange cutout, and I'll show you when I cut to the tabletop. I'll show that more in detail. But basically what you're doing is you're using this kind of like a thumb stud. Instead of doing this exaggerated wider movement with a normal thumb stud or an opening hole, you're doing it all pretty much within the pivot area by pushing on an angle and then forward. Okay, and then obviously extends the blade into the open and lock position. Okay, when you get good at it, you can get pretty fast with it, and it's just as fast as pretty much any other folder. But I remember when these things first came out years ago, and these were like the legal automatics. These were way before assisted technology. Not that it's really technology; it's just a little bar and a little bit of pressure. But yeah, this was like, the cat's butt back in the day. I mean, when automatic knives were very much illegal and still very, very hard to get for a lot of people, and most people had their stiffer, folding knives or manual knives. This was really, really popular because of that fact that it came out so fast and still being completely legal. So very innovative design, and certainly, like I said, it was a pretty hot item back in the day. But now with assisted knives and of course all the other higher quality, more affordable knives out there that are fast to open, not as much of a big deal these days, but certainly a part of knife history nonetheless. And anyone who's been into knives for a decade or more definitely remembers these Cudas. They played a huge role in knife history, in my opinion, in folding knife history. Definitely a very cool item. It does take a little bit of getting used to. Once you get really good with these, I mean, you can really fly them open. I would say just as fast as if it had a thumb stud. A lot of people, with the opening holes, they get really good with the middle finger on the back. They flick their Spydercos open like it's no big deal. It's like anything. Once you get used to a certain style of knife, you get used to opening it fast. What I can tell you though is that right off the bat, it has a poor detent on it, meaning what retains the blade. As you push this in, you will see it sucks in a little bit. There is a detent. It's not a tight fit. It's poorly done. What that does allow, and you'll find this in a lot of cheap knives, is the fact that you can just pop these open very quickly like that. Because there's very little retention in the knife, the blade wants to come out easily, okay? In the reverse grip, it's very easy. You can pull this out of the pocket, bam, it's open. I mean, it's really as fast, if not faster, than an automatic knife because you're not looking for a button. You're basically getting a crude grip on the knife and then just whipping your wrist like that, and it comes completely open and locked, okay? Much easier in the reverse grip than it is, say, in a forward grip or natural grip where you're doing more of an exaggerated wrist movement to pop it open. But nonetheless, it's the same. You could also do a downward kind of thrust and back up to open it. Not as fast or as smooth, but you know, my favorite with pretty much any cheap knife. Like I said, you could take any old, you know, $3 flea market knife, even like the Ozark trail knives from Walmart, and you know, pull out your pocket and do a quick little flick downward, and it's open, and it's very intimidating looking and very cool. Not an effective grip for cutting, but certainly catches someone's eye if that's what you're looking to do. But yeah, just kind of pull it out, pop it open, reverse grip, you're ready to go. Of course, you could do a little flip open to a regular grip to actually cut with it. So yeah, if you want to be all cool and stuff, press your friends, just pull it out, do a little reverse grip like that, and then basically you're holding it with your pointer finger and thumb, putting your middle finger behind. I don't know if that makes any sense. Your middle finger goes behind it, and then you're kind of just flipping it around to a forward grip. So you have all the flash and coolness of a reverse grip, but obviously you're not going to cut very proficiently like that. So you do a little flip around, and then you can make your cuts. So anyway, yeah, just doing a little bit of filming what I do for testing. All right, so I thought it'd be interesting for you guys. Basically, all I'm doing is cutting. I have used this knife a little bit. It does have 2 or 3 days worth of use on it. But nothing extensive. So I'm going to just film a little bit of this. I don't want it to be too boring, but I will cut 2 more boxes about this size. One's a little bit larger, like a square. This is more of a cylindrical, well, not cylindrical, but rectangular box. But I do have another bigger box, and I have one just like this as well, which I'll cut off camera. But this is just, again, to give me an idea of how this knife is going to perform. And, you know, generally speaking, I will stab a little bit, purely because it's fun. I mean, if you've never done this, if you're a knife guy, I know you have, but, you know, just to stab something, it may seem like some kind of sinister thing, but it relieves some kind of stress, you know? It feels really, really good to stab stuff. But you also get an idea of how this is going to perform as far as penetration. This does have a swedge on it, which will aid in that penetration because the tip is thinner. Because of the grinds on the swedge. It's not sharpened or anything, but I don't find. I mean, stab this a little bit before I turn the camera on. I don't find that it's you know, like really excelling at stabbing, but there's not much resistance. But again, that's purely for novelty. It's not something we use in utility almost ever. So anyway, just doing a little bit of cutting. This is plain edge, no serrations on this. What I will do is, as I'm cutting, I will also use different grips, okay? I will put the thumb on the back here, you know, see what that's going to be like cutting and slicing. I will also do like a natural grip like this. Now, if I'm cutting a lot, like personally, not just testing, but if I'm personally just stripping a box down for, you know, just to throw it out easier to save room, I will always hold a grip like this, okay? I will never hold it like this because this does wear down on your hands very easily. Doesn't really matter what the situation here is with jimping and all that stuff. It will wear on your thumb and it will be uncomfortable. So I always do a natural grip like this. But anyway, you do a little box cutting. Also, as I'm cutting, I'm also trying to use different portions of the edge, you know, not just focus on one spot. I'm also as well trying to do some push cuts to get an idea of, you know, specific spots on the edge. As opposed to if you're slicing all the time, you have a harder time figuring out exactly where on the blade there may be issues. All right, now this is not a factory edge because I have used it, so I don't have to focus so much on that right at this point. But just want to kind of cut and get a better feel for it. Of course, it cut out on me. Why wouldn't it, right? Anyway, I'm just cutting through here. My battery cut off at some point. I looked up and my camera's off. Anyway, I'm still just kind of cutting through here, just taking little slivers off here and there, cutting sections out. I'm doing like a sawing motion, just because this is starting to dull out a little bit, just from doing regular slicing. AUS 8 with a semi decent heat treat will hold somewhat of a good edge. This one particularly is not not the best AUS 8 as an example. And this is something interesting too, in knives in general. It's just because you have one knife that has a specific type of steel and you find that to be good, does not mean you will find that same performance in that exact same steel from a different company or a different source. AUS 8 is one of the most used affordable steels out there, and really depending on what company you're getting it from will depend on its performance. So that's also something to keep in mind. A great example of this would be, I would have to say Buck. Buck Knives does an amazing heat treat on 420. It's their 420 HC, high carbon. To get 420 in a different brand, nothing I've ever gotten even comes close to comparing to Buck's heat treated 420 HC. So that's just a perfect example of the difference of one steel being much better coming from a different company, and how they've actually processed that metal to become a blade, as an end product. So anyway, yeah, this is definitely starting to dull out a little bit. So just regular slicing is, I mean, you could do it. It's not nearly as clean as I would like. And at some point, as you're cutting through, slicing wise, you start getting resistance. This is where knives become dangerous, because you're struggling to make a cut. If you have an extremely sharp knife, it's going to be easy to get through your material. Okay, but once it starts dulling, you're putting more pressure, you're exerting more energy, and then when it slips off, you go in all kinds of directions. That's when you slice your fingers, you come down and slice your leg, maybe cut someone else, ruin things, cut objects you don't mean to. So that's why I always say, the sharper the knife, the safer the knife. And I know, upon first hearing that, most people would think that's stupid. A sharper knife is going to be more dangerous because it's sharper. No, if you're using a knife properly, the sharper it is, the better and the safer, because you're going to be able to make your cut that you intend to make, as opposed to slipping off and making a fart noise on your cardboard box and cutting something. So anyway, yeah, so you can see, I mean, it's still performing, it's cutting. And I would say the average person out there, not you guys, because a lot of you guys are knife people, very cool, thumbs up to you, but the average person who's not obsessive over sharpening their knives would have something like this that they use all the time, that they never sharpen, they never replace, and every time they go to use it, they have to exert more and more pressure, and you'll find them doing this. They're sawing through it. They go to open a box, they can't just stick it in and rip it open real quick. You'll find them struggling. You don't want that in a knife. All right, you definitely don't want that. So although I really didn't get through much here, I really am going to quit now because this is starting to dull up on me. But what I will do is I'm going to, before I do the review of the tabletop portion of this, I'm going to resharpen it and cut a little bit more, because I'm getting one issue with this, and I want to make sure that I didn't get enough cutting in time in this knife to really understand if that's what the problem is. I'll get into more details as the close-up version of the video continues. But yeah, I'm just going to touch this up a little bit and continue with some cardboard cutting and a little bit of paracord cutting. And I have some old C-bale material as well. But anyway, I don't want to make the video too long. I'm focusing on trying to make reviews, at least a few of them in the near future, in and around like the 10 to 15 minute mark. I don't want to make 30-minute reviews all the time. Alright guys, I'm ready to do a new knife review for you. We'll be talking about this Camelus Cuda. Very interesting knife. 3 days ago I started filming, doing a little testing on this knife. I was going to do the review 3 days ago. But after my testing and found that it lost its edge fairly quickly, just cutting some cardboard, I wanted to resharpen it and just kind of get a better feel for it. And when I resharpened it, it came out like awesome. I mean, took an amazing edge. Problem is that it dulled again very quickly. What happened was I resharpened it, stropped it up. It was beautiful. It was slicing paper like nothing. cut through some cardboard, and then I got all gung-ho and I went right to the zip ties and I started cutting them up. About 2 or 3 later, it started to get really dull. I mean, it was like it flatlined. It went from amazingly sharp to dull in one pass on one of those zip ties. And they really can. That thick plastic really will beat up on an edge, okay, and chew it up and dull it. So anyway, I decided to resharpen it again, not go so crazy with the edge, just sharpen it up, kind of a moderate finish on it, and carried it for another 2 days. And today I'm ready to do a knife review on it. So all my conclusions are the same as from my initial impressions with it, but there was one thing that I was able to obtain through use, and that is just the comfort, the ergos of this knife overall. But let's get into some of the details when we start off here. This is the Camelus Cuda. This specific one is a carbonitride titanium version, which is basically a titanium coated blade. That's all it really is. You can see it there on the blade stamp. Carbonitride titanium. I mean, it's touted as like a major thing. All it is basically a titanium coating, and then obviously it's colored black here as well. But it's this whole, it's an advertising thing. That's really all it is what it comes down to. Is it's going to protect your blade from rust and stuff, except for your very edge. But other than that, it's not really giving you much. It's glorified as it's strengthening your blade and this, that, and the other thing. It's nothing. Using the word titanium and what did they say it was? Carbonitride. Yeah, that's all marketing. Not a huge deal though, whatever. A lot of these cheaper knife, not that this is very cheap, but cheaper knives, they have to find their own little niche, and they have to have a way to stand out against other knives. So stuff like that, saying it's titanium coated and real big words, titanium, because they're marketing to the average person. They're not marketing to me and you, knife people. We get it. We already know what the deal is. They need someone walking by, something to catch their eye and go, oh my God, I have a knife, but I don't have one with titanium on it. They need that super crazy, just that instantaneous. That's totally marketing. They need to catch your attention. I get that. That's fine. Doesn't do anything for the knife for me. But anyway, this specific knife, this Cuda, I think I've said it. I'll probably use some of the footage that I had before. It is a historic knife, in my opinion, because way before spring-assisted knives and all the knives of today, this was the stuff. This was one of the coolest knives you can get back in the day, okay, because of this opening mechanism. It was awesome. It was like having a legal automatic knife, all right? And once you get good with it, you can really kind of whip this open. Not like that, because I just slipped off. That's something else I will talk about in a second. But if you get good with it, there we go, retake. You can get that open very fast. But I will give you this. Today, with all the new stuff we have, between assisted knives with the flippers, you just do this moment or this movement. So all you gotta do, you gotta move your finger like a little twitch, and that's it, your blade shoots open. With that technology and that mechanism that we have already, and with the spider hole and people getting good and flicking them open, with pretty much every finger of your hand, you can flick the spyder codes open and just kind of pop them out and stuff. This isn't such a big deal anymore. I love it because it's part of my knife history. Me personally, I remember when I got into knives, and when I first knew about this, I'm like, oh my God, I have to have one. I have to have one. And I got one, and it only lasted like a day because I ended up selling it to my friend. And I barely even got to handle it. So technically, I don't really consider myself even owning one, because it came in the mail. I got mine from Bud K back in the day. They were the people to go to, Bud K Worldwide, for all kinds of cool crap. Now it's just, it's still cool crap, but I see it more as crap. It's like that South Park episode when I think they're making fun of dubstep, and they put the the headphones on, and it's just like fart noises and stuff. It's like, oh man, this sounds like crap. That's what it's like, me seeing, opening a Bud K magazine. I can't get as excited as I used to. When I was 12 years old, I'd open it and go, oh my God, I want that, I want that, I want that. Oh, what's that, I want that. And now I open it, I'm like, that's cool. Like, crap. That's what it's like for me. It's diarrhea of the eyes. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of how I feel with a lot of stuff these days, where I look at it and I go like, I kind of wish I didn't know as much as I know, because I can still appreciate crap. But I still appreciate it. It is what it is, you know? But anyway, yeah, this was the knife back in the day. Today, not so much, but still very unique and very interesting. The one thing I think I mentioned in the other video is that this has a very weak D10 on it. So basically what retains the blade in here is not very strong, so you can easily flick these out if you want to. It does not take much effort, so it can be very impressive to whip these open, but you can do that with any cheap knife. You don't have to buy this one. But by the way, price on these are anywhere from 40 to 50 bucks. I have like a list of 7 or 8 go-to websites, and the first one that I found that has one of these is Blade HQ, so I'll put a link in the description box. Sometimes when I do knife reviews, certain websites don't have it, so I don't, like the ones that I use all the time anyway, I just don't even bother putting a link, but if I can find one, I will. So I'll try to always provide some kind of link somewhere so you guys can click on it if that's where you choose to do so. But I always, you know, suggest shopping around. Blade HQ has this, I believe, for 42 or 43 bucks, and like I said, the cheapest you'll find it is 40 bucks. But you know, factor in shipping and stuff like that too. But anyway, yeah, for 40 bucks back in the day, totally the knife to have. And if it was, you know, I don't know, 1998, I'd say, dude, you got to get this. You got to get it right now. Go get one. Get 5. But it's not. It's 2012, and I've handled many a knife since I've seen this one, and I can say that no big deal. It's just no big deal to me these days. But you know, it's still interesting. I honestly, I see this knife and it's totally worth it for 20 bucks. 40, 50, not so much. There's too many options out there. There's just way too many better knives. Anyway, let's get into some specs. The blade here, like I said, it's an AUS 8. It's 4 inches, 5-inch handle, making it 9 inches overall. So it is kind of on the larger side. It does have that titanium carbonitride, crazy, you know, space age coating. Oh my God. Where else are you gonna get that? Pretty much every knife. Anyway, yeah, so you got that crazy cool blade coating on there. I like the blade style. It's very cool. It's very simple, clean look. I love knives with swedges. They do aid in penetration a little bit. But I believe I don't know if I mentioned in the other video, stabbing is not something we normally do for utility at all, pretty much ever. So it's not something you have to worry about. It's something I'm always interested in, but you know, it depends on what you want your knife for. Anyway, construction on it's pretty good. The lockup's actually really decent. There's no side-to-side play at all in this, which is really good. And there's absolutely nothing up and down. I would say for this knife, honestly, like I thought I would remember this as being a little bit more sloppy, and it's actually a lot more well constructed than I would assume, put it that way. You can see full steel liners on this. It is a liner lock knife. So, I mean, you know, how that liner meets up with the tang is pretty spot on right now. I couldn't tell you what it's going to be like, you know, from 6 months of use. I don't know. I haven't used this for 6 months, but I can tell you, at least when you get it, it's pretty dandy. You can see it's not drilled out. You have your full liners here. It is a larger knife, so what does that equate to? A heavier knife. You know, with the G10 scales here and the full liners, it's, you know, it's not a lightweight. Just under 5 ounces. It's 4.8 ounces, so you definitely know it's in your pocket. Cheesy, cheapo, Chinese-looking pocket clip. Just run-of-the-mill, very simple. I mean, it does work. It's the perfect tension. It's not too tight, but it's not really loose. It won't bend on you easily. Of course, as you can see here, is only tipped down and is not swappable. I mean, it's removable, but it's not swappable or anything like that. So not my preference. I would totally prefer this a tip up, but it is what it is. It does carry just fine in the pocket. It is smooth to open and everything. Like I said, lockup's fine. Ergos on this. It is a very simple, sleek look to it. Okay, very straightforward, run of the mill. Just, you know, there's no crazy choils in this or any kind of curves or anything. So you think it's pretty cool, and you know, upon initial use, it's fine. I will tell you though that even though that the scales are rounded on the corners here for comfort, they're beveled. I do have quite a bit of a hot spot right here. Okay, right there into my palm, using this knife hard, particularly with cutting through the zip ties and cutting through lots of cardboard. Did wear on my hand a little bit and did create a quite a bit of a sore spot. In cutting a lot of things, like I probably mentioned in the other video, I do tend to hold a natural grip like this. It's just more comfortable to slice through things. Okay, you kind of come in like an angle like this. Let's say, I probably shouldn't demo like this, but I happen to have a pen here. If this is a piece of paper or whatever you're slicing, come in at an angle, start at the heel and slice through and just, apply pressure forward. All right, that's the easiest way to cut things if you're continuously cutting. If you're cutting real quick, obviously you want a little bit more control and you can get in there and make your cut. But if you're going to cut and slice and cut and slice and slice and cut and slice and slice, then you want a more comfortable grip because this will wear on your hand, okay? It will wear on your thumb, it will wear on your muscles all in here. It'll be uncomfortable, okay? So this is naturally how I would do it. And by holding it straight against whatever you're slicing, you're doing push cuts. It's going to be harder to do on your blade unless you have a very sharp blade. So that's another tip I can give you is to do an angled cut. Again, start from the heel and do a slice. Use the entire length of your blade. That will make your life easier and you'll have less resistance. Unless you have a crazy sharp knife, then you can do push cuts. It won't make a difference. But again, depends on what knife, what you're using, what you're cutting, how much you're cutting, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, you can see the construction on this are some Torx screws. So if you find yourself to be very, adventurous, you want to take this apart and see how this mechanism works, by all means, go right ahead. One thing I will tell you that I do not like about this, and I didn't like it when I got the other one back in the day, is this. It rattles. It rattles very easily, and of course, once it's open, it's even worse. When it was closed, walking, occasionally I heard it. It really wasn't a big deal, but I was taking notice of it because I'm very conscious of the knife because I'm carrying it specifically to make a review. But yes, this piece here, this thumb disc, which is a G10, little slab of G10, you can see it just kind of, actually, let's see, let me see if I can open this a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't really help your view at all. I want you to see, it's basically a G10, disc, and there's a rod underneath it that goes through the blade, and on the back side, it's probably riveted in there. But basically, it's very loose. There's play here so it can maneuver and move, okay, as well as spin freely. It will, just totally just keep spinning and spinning forever and ever. You guys are into your little turntables. Remix. All right. Anyway, yes. All right. So yeah, it freely spins in there, but they give it a lot of play here, so it's not snug. It overall gives kind of a cheap feeling to it. Of course, you don't want your knife rattling around, making noise. That always feels cheap and flimsy and crappy. I have abused this a little bit on purpose. I've even taken my little Ouija bar and put it under there and just gave it a little bit of a pry just to see if it would pop off easily, and it doesn't, so it's not going to break, I don't think, at all, but it's annoying. You don't want this thing rattling. That's crazy. Yeah, when you're using a knife, you're not going to be shaking it like a maraca or anything, but come on, So yes, innovative for its time, kind of an oldie but goodie, but I'm only giving it more respect because of my history with it and how it was so cool back in the day. If I didn't know about this till today, I would probably rip on it a little bit more, to be honest with you guys. And P.S. that whole trying to get 10-minute knife review, forget that, at least for this knife. I'm just talking and talking, but I'm giving my opinions on it, Yeah, so that's basically how that works. And you can see it has an angled cutout here because you can't just put it straight forward, otherwise it wouldn't move the blade. You have to start on an angle, okay, to initiate that opening, because remember, you're pivoting around this, pivot, and you're moving around it, okay? You're not just sliding up and down. So you have to initiate on an angle, and then as you're pushing forward, obviously it's opening, and it'll eventually lock open. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just not. You see how much wiggle you have there, how much room? You can see the bar there. You come in close. See the bar, how it goes all the way through, and you can kind of see the cutout. Let me see if I can get it from this side. We got good lighting here. There we go. You can see the cutout in the blade, the channel that it's riding in a little bit. But basically that's what the deal is. And that's just maneuvering your blade. So as you focus, thank you camera. All right, so obviously as you're pushing forward, it's starting to open, and then you just keep moving it until it clicks in, and that's it. Yada, yada, yada. And then of course it's from there, it's a regular liner lock. And as you push back, obviously it's in the blade channel already, so it's moving that little button, even though it's not a button, it's not a switch either, I don't know what to call it. It's a nub or a disc. Yeah, it's a disc, that's it. Here's my other complaint. There's all kinds of like texturing on it, jimping. Holding it flat like that, it's difficult for me to use like that. I don't like it. I find that just using it like that, like yeah, you can use it, but here's the issue that I find every single time. Look at my natural grip here. If I were to put my thumb on here, look where my pointer finger is. This is how I naturally grab a knife, right? As I'm pushing forward on this disc, there's the back of the blade. As this comes around, see how it pinches my finger right there? It's not that it hurts my finger, because it doesn't hurt my finger, but what it does do is it prevents this from opening totally. And it stops right there because it hits my finger. That's not good. And then I have to adjust my hand just to open it. So you can use it like this if you were to grab it low on the handle, but even then I'm extending my finger. I can't even do that. Maybe I have stubby thumb syndrome. I don't know, but it's just not comfortable. So for me to get my hand up here, I have to actually twist my hand. So it's not like this, it's more like this. And then you really have to use that clip to hold on to the knife. It's just very awkward. So what I tend to do is, and it's easier for grip, is I'll use let me give you this view, the fat of my thumb on an angle like this, pushed down. And then as I'm opening it, pushing forward like that, that's much easier to use or to do than to use it flat like this as it's intended. Just, you know, just by design, it's not all that great. You can see it is nice flow through design, but of course it doesn't help with the weight much. Anyway, like I said, I mean, I really want to go, oh, I love it so much. But I do, I have a history. I love it because of what it was, and it is part of my past. But as a knife, just for you as like say a consumer, there's much better knives out there, to be honest. But it's still got that unique individualism about it, and if you don't have anything like this, obviously there's nothing else on the market like it. So it's unique. It would definitely make a very cool collectible. I will give you this, if you're out there as a knife collector and you like collecting different types of knives, and you know, I honestly have not met that person. There's lots of different knife people. There's the users, obviously people who buy knives, they use them for their work or whatever. Then there's people who buy knives to collect. They buy like collectors, limited editions, and all kinds of stuff like that, and they never use them. Then there's people who are kind of in between. They have some safe queens, some collectible knives that they'll never use. They won't even think of it. Like, oh my God, no. That's number 1 of 100. No way, you know, oh my God. But they still have knives that they use. But I've never really met anyone who just collects all different kinds like types of knives, like has one of every type of like locking mechanism and stuff like that. Like that would be a cool collection to have. Whether you use them or not, it'd just be like one of every single type of lock out there. That would be awesome. And this would of course be something, even though it's just a liner lock, just the mechanism, the opening mechanism is so unique. So it definitely has its value really is all in its uniqueness. But as far as function and form, run of the mill, like I said, I'd really consider this like just a decent $20 knife. But for 40 to 50, there's so many better knives out there. I would not recommend it unless you just want it because it's cool, because it is still pretty cool. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about that one. Not really much else. I mean, yeah, there's a lanyard hole and stuff, but I've made my points. Like I said, if you're gonna get this thing, I mean, you could use it, but there's better ones out there. If you end up using it a lot, it'll dull pretty quick on you, and unless you can sharpen your own knives, you're gonna be very unhappy with this very cool knife that just doesn't cut anything. But still awesome. An old Camillus AUS 8. So yeah, I hear you, Camillus, with your carbonitride titanium.
Yeah, we get it. You're awesome. I thank you very much for your time, as always, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.